Hi there, my name is Katie Fielding, and I'm here as a staff development coordinator for you and for orientation to go over the orientation process. So welcome. There are two of us staff development coordinators in our office. We cover the whole hospital. My name is Katie Fielding, and I am a nurse. And then I have been working in this job for about 2.5 years. And I am a nurse on the PCU, and I've been a nurse in the ICU. And I work very closely with the other staff development coordinator, which is Diane Henry. There's a picture of Diane. Diane and I have been here almost the same amount of time. We've been here for about 20 years. Diane works as an RN back in OB. She's also a lactation consultant. She teaches a lot of our childbirth ed classes. And together we split the position. So we're here Monday through Friday. I'm here some days, Diane is not here. Diane is here some other days. But collectively, we are your staff development coordinators, so welcome. So just a little bit about us. We have an office that we share. It's halfway between the patient care unit and the intensive care unit. We are responsible for all of your onboarding and orientation competencies to make sure that you are in line with those. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of our responsibilities. But we did want to just let you know that the best way to communicate with us, should there be any issues now or in the future, or if you just had any questions whatsoever, the best way to communicate with us is through our group email, which is staffdevelopment@aspenhospital.org. We also have a shared phone extension, which is 1442. And then we have individual lines and individual emails as well. But because we work different shifts or different days throughout the week, it is best just to communicate at our group email and you'll get the best response. We also keep a pretty open door policy as well for our office, as long as we're not doing any CPR checkoffs or meeting individually with a person. Feel free to swing by and chat with us. We have a nice little leather chair. People like to sit down and just have a good old talk. And then we do rounding. Diane tends to come in a little later in the day and stay later into the evening and night shift hours. So about once a week, she'll touch base with the night shift, and then I will round during the day shift, and then sometimes we'll round together. And then also we will, if there's a communication that needs to go out to several people or several disciplines, we will communicate via your manager, and then those managers are responsible for making sure that communication goes out. We also, I'm sure Kara has talked about it potentially prior to this, but we have what's called the weekly roundup, which basically is a compilation of any announcements or communications through the HR department. And if we have important events or important communications, we will go ahead and advertise those on the weekly roundup. And then also, we have a bulletin board outside of our office with up and coming classes and certifications and any communication that we think would be important to you. Okay, so what all are we responsible for? We're just going to go over a couple of these items here. Basically, we like to start with just letting you know that as professionals, we collectively as a hospital see that it is ultimately your professional responsibility to keep up with your certifications and licenses. But because we're all human, we do have a couple of backup systems to help you stay on top of those. So we use what's called the EverCheck credential monitoring system. And basically what that allows us to do is to put everybody's licenses, certifications, credentials into a centralized system that will allow us to help keep track of upcoming expirations. And when you are entered into that system on hire, then you are, your email is put and all of your certifications and licenses are put into that system, and you will start to get communications and emails from them when you're getting close to your expiration. We get those as well, and then we also do an audit every month just to see who's coming up on their expirations, who has expired, and then send communications in response to those. And in that audit, we do try and touch base with with you and help you get into classes or help you get on the DORA site or whatever the case may be, to get those taken care of. Okay. We do have a little place on the internet page under workspaces, department sites, and staff development, and it's called What to Do If My Certification Has Elapsed. We are human sometimes. This does happen. Hopefully it happens to you. If it is going to happen to you, it happens to you once and you are reminded of how important that is. But we do know that we're human again. So we have this spot that you can look up should this happen to you. What to do if my certification has elapsed. And basically there's a process. We just need to make sure that we've touched base with your manager. You've touched base with your manager and have come up with a plan as to how and when you were going to get that certification or license or credential taken care of. Some of the credentials within the hospital, especially professional licenses, if you do expire, you won't be able to work. So it's really, really important that you keep up on those. We have heard of a couple of people that will keep up on their own, either keeping all the wallet-sized copies in their wallet, or maybe they print off all the certifications and keep it on one sheet in their offices or at home, and that seems to be a really good way for people to keep up. Anyways, the point being, you get lots of reminders, and you're always welcome to come and connect with us too, should you lose track of a certification or license and you're not sure when you're going to expire. We are able to help you with that. Okay, so another one of our main responsibilities is coordination of education. So there are multiple ways we do that. We regularly coordinate with a discipline or with a group called Health One out of Denver, and I'll circle back around on them, in Children's Hospital to offer on-site education in services and simulations. So we have teamed up again with Health One and Children's Hospital. They have amazing outreach programs to especially rural hospitals. And we basically give them topics of interest that come from the physicians or employees. And they kind of do a little research on their end and tell us who the experts in those topics would be. And then they come up with presentations and they actually come on site and do those. And then Children's and Rocky Mountain Hospital for Children's will come on site and do simulations on site in mobile training centers or in hospitals. So those are especially useful in the clinical sites. So more to come on that in the upcoming months, I'm sure. We also assist with unit-based education as needed. I think I mentioned it before, I have been a nurse on the patient care unit and the ICU. So a lot of times I will get tapped into for those disciplines just to help out. Diane helps out a ton in the OB department. And then basically you have some really strong educators and leaders within the other clinical and non-clinical departments. And we team up with them and just help come up with some ideas of training that they may decide that they need. Again, we work with education coordinators around the hospital, but we also work with other education coordinators around Colorado to help improve our systems. So we regularly email back and forth with Montrose and Gunnison, education coordinators in Delta and all over the Western Slope. So that's great. That way, because we're a small facility, we're able to tap into, and also Valley View, we're able to tap into some other rural hospitals to see how they're doing things, which is great. Every year we have what's called Fallapalooza. This is a really funny named event, but basically what this is it's a combination of clinical skills check-offs as well as HR requirements. Basically, we group together with HR, and we have in this room, which is the conference center room A, we set up a bunch of clinical skill stations, and then in the other conference center rooms in B and C, HR comes up with, and other disciplines across the hospital, come up with really important things that need to be done in a timely fashion and within, a short amount of time. So more to come on that, but basically that happens in November. You will get communication as that pertains to you. It's kind of a really fun event for those that teach, because we get to see faces of people all over the hospital, and it's we call it a one-stop shop. So you get to come and get lots of things taken care of in maybe a 1 or 2 hour period of time. We also create and or assign yearly education as requested by your manager. So basically we oversee, we are staff development coordinators for the whole hospital. So we are really in an umbrella role. We oversee education across the continuum of the hospital, of all the disciplines. So it'd be really hard for us to come up with education that was pertinent to every single role and role or position in every single department. So we rely really heavily on the managers in those departments, as well as any supervisors, clinical resource coordinators, and preceptors or mentors to come up with education that will be valuable, that is necessary, and then basically we assign those. And then we keep track of education as well. We also help teach classes. You'll see Diane has a ton that she does. She teaches NRP, childbirth education, friends and family CPR. She and I will help, we help do BLS checkoffs in the hospital, and then she's a lactation consultant, and then I teach BLS and ACLS. Some classes that we offer, in case this is of interest to you. Again, BLS, and we are in the middle of changing systems. We currently use the HeartCode BLS system, and we will be moving to the RQI BLS system later this year. More communication will be coming about that. But if you are close to expiring on your BLS, just circle back around with us and we'll let you know how to get that taken care of. We also have ACLS. We have a 2-day provider or new provider ACLS course. We also have an ACLS experienced provider course. That's every July. We have PALS, and PALS 2-day provider. Again, that's for anybody that's expired or is new as a PALS provider. We have NRP, stable, fetal monitoring, TNCC, and then fundamentals of critical care and pediatric fundamentals of critical care through the Society of Critical Care Medicine. So we offer quite a few, and then as needed, we will add certification classes in addition to those. Okay, so to get to our staff development webpage, which is what I had mentioned just a few minutes ago, you'll go to the intranet page. You just get onto Internet Explorer or Chrome, and you're going to go to the home page, and you go under Workspaces. And under there, you'll see department sites will come up, and we are several down under staff development. You can click on there. And again, that piece of what to do if my certification expires, the list of our upcoming certifications, and many other things will be on there. There's an example. Okay, so for you on orientation, how we are related to you, especially during this process, is we make sure that we are assigning the appropriate education to you in your department, in your role. And how we do that is we get feedback or incoming information from basically from the hospital, from leadership, from human resources, from Joint Commission, employee wellness, infection prevention, from your managers, your mentors, your preceptors, and we keep all of that education centered in one system called HealthStream Learning Center. So I don't know if any of you guys have used that before, but that is the system that we used here. It's a database that we assign all of your education and competencies through. We do oversee that orientation is completed in a timely fashion, and that's defined as within 60 days. Your managers, most of your managers, if not all of your managers, are really good at making sure that you have some time at the beginning of orientation to get a bulk of the HealthStream courses done. Depending on your role and depending on the safety risks to yourself and to the patients here at the hospital, depending on what that role is and how much safety pertains to your role, depends on how many, will determine how many HealthStreams that you have. So some of you may come up and have the standard, it's about 12 to 15 all employee health streams that everybody has to do, and maybe just one or two other courses. And some of you will have the standard all employee and then another 30 to do. And it's not that we're sitting there and picking on you from the back end. It's simply that whatever role you are, again, if you are at risk yourself from a safety perspective, or if the skills that you do within your job have a high risk to the patient associated with them, then we have to deem competency on more things. So again, you have a 60-day window. Included in that education are some checklists, which we'll get to here in just a little bit, that you do with whoever is orienting you. I say try, in the beginning, you're going to want to get onto HealthStream on a regular basis. Basically, when you're starting, you'll get those as many HealthStreams as you can knocked out, and then sit down whenever you have some free time to do that. Once you get through that orientation process, according to whatever role and discipline you have, you will also have yearly HealthStreams that you'll have to complete. The complete by date this year is May 15th. You guys will be exempt from those, or they'll be included in your orientation HealthStreams. Otherwise, we assign basically things on orientation and then yearly as decided by your managers, the hospital, et cetera, et cetera. With that 60 days, with keeping that 60 days in mind, if you get to a 30-day point halfway through and you're really far away from getting all your education done, it is really ultimately up to your responsibility, but also a really good idea to sit down with your manager, your supervisor, and say, you know what, I really haven't had a lot of time to get these done. I know they're really important. How can we build some time for me to do this? And then they'll work with you on a plan. If at any time this feels overwhelming, you feel like you're not going to get it done, please, please, please let us know, and we will help you work on a plan to do so. We also, in addition to what I just said, we do advocate for new hires come off orientation feeling capable of doing their job safely and effectively. So if at any point in time you, again, feel like you haven't gotten through your orientation, education, and competencies, or you feel like you get all of them done and you still don't really understand your equipment, processes, anything like that, please let us know, and we will help you communicate with your supervisors, managers, so that we can make sure that you come off of orientation feeling safe and effective. We also, again, like I said earlier, we work with your preceptors and managers to help you get that orientation completed. We haven't had too much trouble anytime recently, so I think the people that are in those leadership roles are really great at helping our employees get those done. And then we wanted to let you know that we know with new faces comes new ideas, sometimes new processes, and we welcome that. We know we are in a small town and we've been here, some of us have been here for a while, and maybe you have limited exposure to what's happening at other facilities. So if you see something that's worked really well at another facility and you want to bring that to our attention, please let us know. Love to hear it. So we did talk about HealthStream. So HealthStream Learning Center allows us to manage most of your orientation competencies, if not all. So without further ado, let's look into HealthStream Learning Center. So let's go back to that intranet homepage. This is where you're going to find the HealthStream Learning Center. You're going to go to the intranet page. You're going to go under that workspaces again, and under company apps is HealthStream. I'm going to click on that. The first time you go in, you're going to have to put in your user ID and password. After that, you can select the option to save your password, and then it'll come up. With that being said, you will be prompted the first time around to choose a new password. So the password that you have received or you will receive is temporary password. So you should have gotten some paperwork from us emailed to you. If you haven't, let us know. We will make sure that you get those. We also CC your manager or supervisor on that, so we make sure that you get that information. But essentially, the first time you log in, that user ID and password are going to be the same number, and that is your employee ID number. You will be prompted, like I said just a minute ago, to change your password. And then we just want you to know, we know a lot of people forget their passwords. They don't write them down. So if you can, write your password down. If you forget, please don't be embarrassed. Just give us a call at 1442, which is that number we mentioned earlier. Email us at staffdevelopment@aspenhospital.org, and we will help you get in. Okay, so when you first successfully get in, or actually every time you successfully get in, my apologies, you will be taken straight to this page, which is a HealthStream My Connections page. There are a ton of resources on this page. Unfortunately, some of those, if not many of those, are not currently working. We've had a change in some of our IT equipment, and with that, there is a disconnect between HealthStream Learning Center and some of that equipment. So we will be working on that this year, updating that. But just know that you're going to default to this My Connections page at some point. This is going to be a really great resource to you. Right now, we're in some glitches right now. What you'll want to do is go over and click the To-Do tab. There's a lot of important information under this To-Do tab. In fact, all of the health streams that are assigned to you right off the beginning are going to default to this page. When you first get in, you'll see there's different colors of courses off there to the left. There's orange and then there's blue. When you first get in, everything should just be blue. And everything should say, under status, it should say assigned. And then everything off to the right should say start. And then in the middle column, it'll say due. And that should be 60 days out from your hire date. The reason I put some of these other colors on here is just to let you know down the road, should any of this happen to you, if a course goes into that orange or red color, it means it's past due. So you want to get that taken care of as quickly as possible. And even let us know if you're past due, no problem. You'll see once you click on to one of these courses, and let's say you get pulled away and you haven't totally completed the course, that status will change to in progress, or it'll say not started yet. It will no longer say assigned. And then off in that right column where it usually says start, it will give you the option to resume. So anytime you get in, you'll be fine to go back into a course. And then if you have any glitches, just let us know. Okay, so to open a course, you're going to want to click on the course name, or you can hit start. Either one is going to let you get in. Okay, so this particular course I just selected, it says EBSCO Sepsis, Caring for the Patient With. What you can see is this particular assignment has some continuing education credit hours aligned with it. So just know if you have this one of these courses assigned to you, you want to complete all of the pieces included in there, and especially that option, that evaluation and the test, and then you'll get CE credits, which will actually show up under your completed tab, which we'll go over here in just a second. Okay, you'll see every single one of you is going to have what's called all employee health streams assigned to you. And in red, you'll see I've circled curriculum. So a curriculum is a little different than a course. It's actually a compilation of courses of which you have to complete all of them before that all employee health streams or whatever the assignment name is done. So it's basically an assignment of many courses, all of which you have to complete. Those may take you a while, and I will guarantee you cannot get through that all employee health streams until you've sat down at the end of orientation and met with your manager. The reason being, included in that is a checklist called the 90-day employee manager checklist, I think is what it's called. And in there, we basically go in between 60 and 90 days and verify that you have gone through hospital orientation, you have sat with, or you've met with an employee wellness and gotten, employee health, Amy Bearhorse, and gotten all of your prerequisite health requirements taken care of. It says that you've completed all your other health streams, or all of your health streams, and also that you've met with your manager. So that you can't make that one fall off on your own, just so you know. But just know if you see the word curriculum, it means that there are several courses in that assignment. All of the courses have to be complete. There's also another name of what might show up, and that is called, it could be a course, a curriculum, or the third one being an equivalent. So basically, and there's an example, sorry, I jumped ahead. Here's an example of that all employee health streams curriculum. So you'll see there's several courses that fall underneath that have to be completed. Okay, so equivalent. Now I'm going to jump back to where I was a second ago. An equivalent is basically a compilation of multiple versions of the same course. So in order for us to make a course applicable across the lines to clinical staff, non-clinical staff, English speaking, Spanish speaking, we make courses to cover everybody. And this is really important for these all employee health streams. There's subject matters that every employee needs to be educated on, and we have to make sure that they are applicable to everybody. So the nice thing about an equivalent is you go in and you choose which of the courses applies to you. So as a nurse, I would go in and I would pick the clinical equivalent. If I worked in admissions, I would go in and pick the non-clinical. If I was primarily Spanish speaking, I would go in and pick the Spanish version, and we'll take a look at that here in a second. You do not have to complete all versions of the same course. So I don't need to complete clinical and then go complete the non-clinical and then go complete the Spanish. You only have to do one. And once you've completed one, it will go to your completed tab and the assignment will go away. Okay, so here's an example of a rapid regulatory equivalent. So again, I'm going to go in. The top one I can't even read because I don't read very well in Spanish. The second one says clinical 2, and the third one says non-clinical 2. So because I am a clinical employee, I would go to select the clinical 2 selection, and I would do that by simply hitting enroll. Now, if I get in and I realize that I've hit the wrong selection, it's really not a problem. People panic about this all the time. I'm just going to simply go over to the right-hand side where it says options, and it says choose an alternate course to fulfill the equivalent. I'm going to click on that. It's going to take me back to that previous menu, and then I'm going to select the appropriate one, which for me would be clinical. If you forget all of this, no big deal. You can just call us at that 1442 or email us at staffdevelopment@aspenhospital.org, and we'll take care of that for you. Okay, so on orientation, we do, in addition to making sure that you get education on certain items, we also have to deem competency, and the best way to do that is through checklists. So you will probably have at least one, if not many, checklists underneath your assignments. Here's an example one. It says Atrium Chest Tuba checklist. I can click on that, and if I do, I can view only what the checklist says. And sometimes that's really nice to do ahead of time so you feel prepared. But the whole idea of this is that you're not doing this by yourself, that you're doing it actually with your preceptor, your mentor, or a supervisor, whoever's orienting with you, that is deemed an appropriate validator for that checklist, has access to check you off on that. So what we want you to do, you can again go in and view it, but you're going to make basically some time with your supervisor, whoever's orienting with you, to sit down and do that together, or stand up and do that together. And they're going to actually go in on their HealthStream account. They're going to go into that options menu, and they're going to go under evaluate checklist, and they're going to either pull up the checklist or your name, and then they will go through each item one by one to make sure that you are very clear, are able to verbalize understanding, and hopefully return demonstration on any of the items. This is really important, okay? We are saying when that person that is doing the checklist with you hits the button to submit the checklist, they are saying that you and this other person that's doing the checklist with you are saying that you're completely competent, and or you at least know the resources of how to find the information for that. You don't want to rush through this. This will not help you. It will not help them. It will not help your team. okay? You want to make sure that as you go through the items that you're able to, at least in your mind, if not verbalize back to the person, exactly what the information is, where you're going to find the resources, and or how to do the task successfully. If you're in the middle of doing one of these checklists and you get pulled away, it's really not a big deal at all. This happens. It's real life. This happens all the time. All you're going to do, all your preceptor, mentor, supervisor is going to do is go to the end of that checklist and hit the word save rather than submit. They can also go in and put comments. So let's say there is a procedure that it has a checklist associated with it. You get through the entire 60 days of orientation and you realize you haven't seen that procedure here. But let's say your supervisor, mentor, preceptor has gone over it, shown you the appropriate equipment, showed you the resources of how to do the procedure, and you're able to verbalize back that you will ask for help if and when this procedure comes up. They can just put that under commentary and then submit that checklist. And then what you're going to want to do is advocate for yourself when that procedure comes up, volunteer to do that with somebody else. Okay, so I think I mentioned that before. If something gets past its due date, then it's going to turn red. And again, this goes back to that accountability piece. If this happens to you, it's not the end of the world, but you do want to let your manager and or us know, just so you can say, I'm accountable. I know I'm going to be late on this, or I know I am late on this stuff. Also on that same note, we do an audit as well to make sure orientation competencies and education do get completed. And in that audit, we do find out who hasn't completed theirs, and then we let the employee and their manager know that the employees that are past due are past due. So you don't want to be on that list. But if you have to be because you haven't gotten to an item, you want to be that person that's proactive and let us know ahead of time. So, all right, so I think speaking of completions, there's this completed tab, and it basically allows you to visualize all the health streams you've completed. So what's really cool is you go into your assignment, you complete a course, it vanishes off of your to-do list, and then you can just go to completed tab and verify that it's all done. Great. You'll see if you've taken a course with that CE credit, you will see it come under the CE credit summary. It'll actually have all the items, and alongside it, it'll have the credit hours associated with it. So let's say you have a licensure or credential that requires a certain number of CEs. We aren't going to keep track of that for you necessarily unless you bring that to us or send that to us, and then we can put it in your hard file. If it's something from HealthStream, you are going to be able to do this yourself. You could just simply go in and print your completions tab and add those up yourself. And let me go back to that 1 second. You'll see on the far left it says date range. So let's say there's a CE you did 13 months ago, and you need to make note of it now. You can just change that date range from last 12 months to I think last 24 months or all. Either one works. So there's another tab called Profile. We aren't going to mess with that at all from our end. We can go into your to-do page. We can go to your transcript and see your completions, but we cannot go into your profile. That's basically for you to manage. This is up to you. It's not necessary, but it may help you to stay on top of your certifications and licenses, okay? You can go in and put all your licenses, your certification, their expiration dates, any education you're trying to keep track of. This is just like a self-journal, essentially. So feel free to play with that, around with that. Let's see. I forgot to circle it on this slide. That's kind of funny. But under catalog, and you'll see that name off to the left, you can go in and search any topic of interest related to your job. Or you can also search for certification classes this way. So you'll basically go to the search browser. You're going to type in whatever it is that you're trying to find. Let's say it's an ACLS class. I'm going to type in ACLS. Let's say it is compartment syndrome, because I hear we have a lot of orthopedic patients here, but I've never seen compartment syndrome in real life. Or it's something that I just want to kind of make sure that I am refreshed on during orientation. I can put any of those titles in under catalog, and it's going to bring you up anything that's pertinent to that, okay? If I go into ACLS or go into a certification course, it's going to give me the options of those courses. I'm going to enroll, and then you just want to go back to your to-do page and make sure that you've adequately enrolled and that is on that to-do page. That's your assignment page. If you get stuck, you just call us at 1442 or email us at staffdevelopment@aspenhospital.org. If you just want to play around with HealthStream and see what else I haven't covered here that you might think would be helpful, there is a help tab and you can just kind of go through there. Maybe there's something of interest to you. Or maybe before calling us, you can just tap onto that and see if you can navigate any issue before giving us a call. But again, any call we get, any email is going to be non-punitive and will help you anytime. So again, there's that 90-day manager and new employee checklist that we talked about. Again, we will take care of that for you on the back end. You just need to complete down to new hire attestation. And then your responsibility for doing this 90-day manager and new employee checklist is just to give us a call. And we will let you know what hasn't been done on that yet. All right, any questions? It's hard for me to navigate. If you do, just call us or email us or let your manager know. I like to just highlight a couple things. We do remember what it's like to be new. Even though I started here almost 20 years ago, I still remember having those butterflies in my stomach. I just took this position 2.5 years ago. I still feel new at it. I very much appreciate being the new person in a new role. And it can be hard. Just know that we have your back and take the attitude of a student. Never be too big to ask questions. Never know too much to learn something new. The fundamental thing I want you to know from here is if anything is confusing, you don't understand it, you're not clear, just speak up. Please, please. We're glad you're here. And again, we were all new here at some point, so we're happy to help you navigate anything on this journey. And welcome. We're excited to meet you.